tuning in to another episode of Definition of Active. I'm stepping out of the limelight behind the editing boards for once, and I wanted to bring a special guest to this here platform. Thank you, Bag of Tricks Cat, for coming in, bro. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Exactly, bro. Got to get the active people in here. Like you've been active, bro. You've been definitely active. I'm just gonna jump right into it. What's the deal with the cat? Like, where does that come from?
Man, everybody always asks me this, and I'm surprised that there's still people who don't know. But the whole reason that my stage name and stuff is Bag of Tricks Cat, and why everybody calls me Felix, is because my grandma sang the 1959 theme song to Felix the Cat, and so everybody ended up calling me Felix. And her name was Ann Bennett, and she was a singer during the big band era, and did a lot of live performances and stuff during that time. Even sang for the president.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
She was doing her thing back then, and it was all on the East Coast. She was born in Philly, ended up moving to New York, and pursuing her career and everything out there. And she used to do these little side gigs of doing jingles for cartoons and things like that. And a lot of them didn't end up taking off. She would just be hired to come in. Somebody would write the jingle, and they'd hire somebody who could sing to sing it. And they'd always hire her. And Felix the Cat just really happened to pop off during that time. So that stayed with her throughout her career, and the rest of her life is one of the things that she was most known for. And so it's really like paying honor to my grandma, and just music's been in my family for I'm third generation. So
Dang, that's very genuine, bro. That's a crazy story. So was this like between the late 50s, early 60s?
yeah, so she was already an established singer on the East Coast during that time. So I'm trying to think. 1959 is when she sang the cartoon. I mean, she was already well into her singing career by then.
Damn.
So
That's crazy.
yeah, I'd say the late 40s to the early 70s, she was really booked a lot and did a lot of parties for the upper echelon of New York. I don't know if you know.
Creme de la creme.
What's the songwriter? He wrote a big record called "The Lovely." It's divine, it's delicious, delectable.
I know the
it's
jingle,
lovely.
but I don't know the guy.
Yeah, she'd sing at parties like that and stuff with the big band behind her. So
that's some crazy stuff right there.
yeah, a whole different era of music.
That's back when you had the good live environment where everybody could just come and have a good time, and
yeah, lots of live instrumentation.
Yeah.
My grandpa was a trumpet player. That's how they met.
Oh, what?
Yeah, my grandpa was a trumpet player, and so they met on the road, and fell in love and stuff, and yeah, they were together 50 years.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Is your grandmother still with us today?
No, she passed away. It's going to be 10 years this year.
Well,
Long, fulfilling life, and she was a really unique and special lady to know. So I feel privileged when I talk about her, that not only did I know her, but that she's my grandma. Really proud of her.
that's great, bro. Thank you, Ann Bennett, for all the legacy you got, and especially for crafting this individual. All right, and then as far as the beginning of your career, when did you first establish yourself as far as getting in music?
Well, I mean, it started off when I was 12, 13. A lot of the stories that you hear whenever you ask somebody, I'm in the studio with a lot of different artists, and I always ask, when did you start? And they go, well, I've been writing since I was 12 or 13. And it's really the same, I feel like that's around the age. Yeah. Where if you're going to start, you start around that transition time into that preteen, early teen time. And that's, when you really start getting into music and finding yourself and your own tastes. So, yeah, I was about 12, 13 when I started writing music, and I would record myself on cassette and stuff. We would download beats off LimeWire, and we'd burn a CD, and they were beats for How We Do and I'm a Hustler by Cassidy, and just lots of beats from the early 2000s, and we put the CD on, and then we take another boombox that could record cassette, and then you'd put that boombox next to the boombox that was playing the beat, and then you'd rap in between them.
Whoa.
And then record
Crazy.
yourself rapping in between them. And so that's how I really started when I was like 12, 13. And then like it was like a huge like upgrade. Like my mind was blown when I was like, oh, like you can record on the computer.
Wow.
And so like you get your little headset mic and download Audacity, and you're recording in Audacity and stuff.
Would you feel that recording on cassette is a little bit better than digital?
Oh, absolutely not.
You don't think so? For the vibe,
No,
the energy?
No, like recording on tape, like cassette is tape, but cassette is cheap tape.
Okay.
So when you're recording on like real tape, like with a
Like
tape
the big
machine,
ass one, like this big?
yeah, like when you get those big reels of tape,
Okay.
that can add a lot of character and cool harmonics that recording digitally just doesn't do. But for a cassette, nah. Like maybe if you're making a beat or something and like you run an instrument through cassette tape because you want it to sound kind of shitty
Yeah.
and lo-fi, like that's cool.
A little bit of a vibe.
Yeah, but no, those recordings were trash. I was trash rapping.
Do you still have those?
I might somewhere. I might, because at one point I took those cassettes and I had a buddy who could turn it into CD. He would like record it into a DAW, and then he would make it an MP3 and then put it on a CD. So there's a CD somewhere, a lost CD, but I'm not trying to look for it. I don't want to be reminded of how shitty I was.
Hey man, it's good to go back to the roots though. I mean, myself, I got a couple files on some hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, I got stuff from high school though. I got stuff from when I was a teenager and probably like 16, 17. I got some stuff like from then, but even then it wasn't that good. Just trying to find
Like your sound.
yeah, trying to find my sound, trying to figure out who I was as a person, trying to figure out how to record. It was a process, and I'm grateful for it. And a lot of people give up, because they'll hear that it doesn't sound good,
Yeah.
and they'll go, "Oh, this just isn't for me."
Yeah.
But you
Exactly.
need to stick with it to see what you're capable of and to become yourself.
Yeah, most
sure.
definitely. You have to grow from that. Like, what's something that you learned from that stage in your life that you might still use today in your career?
I would say, that's a good question. Something that I learned early on. I learned early on to not wait around for anybody. And that's something that I still apply today. Like, oh, you ain't about it? Cool, I'll find someone who is.
Self-efficient.
Like, no matter what, it's going to happen. It's just,
Exactly.
is it going to happen with you? You know what I mean? So no matter what, it's going to happen. But yeah, I learned that very early on, that there's lots of people who like to say that they want to do something,
Right.
and
No follow-through.
and like to dream about it and go over the what ifs in their brain, but there's few who act, and so you need to be around people who act. And I learned that pretty early on.
That's something good. That's a gem right there. For those of y'all watching, pay attention. These are gems right now. All right, so going from when you started in your career, let's jump into the tour stories, bro. Like, how did you end up touring with Mega Ran? Tell me about this.
So Mega Ran took me on my first tour ever, and like my first tour was like, I set the bar like so high for myself, because it was a 2-leg tour, and one leg was in Europe and one leg was here, and so the bar was just set really high for me. And I can't say that I wasn't ready for it, because I was, and I'm fortunate to have been ready for it. But what happened basically was, me and Mega Ran had been friends and making music for a couple years. He had featured on a couple of my records. I had featured on a couple of his records. And we were working on a single back in 2015 called Dream Girl. and it was going to go on
I remember
my
that one.
album that I was working called Cats Out the Bag. And we were at the video shoot, and we were shooting this video, and the videos turned out great. And Megan's just sitting next to me and goes, I'm going to be going to tour in a couple months, like 90 days. I'm going out to Europe to tour. And I was like, oh, that's dope. He's like, yeah, it's my second time going. I'm like, yeah, man, that's awesome. And then it's quiet a little bit. He's like, you want to roll?
Oh
And
damn!
I'm like,
He just broke it on you like
and
that.
I'm just like, yeah, man. So let me know what I got to do. So I expedited, getting my passport and everything to go to Europe and stuff. And we went out to Europe, and the tour was great. We recorded a project out there, which was the first Emerald Nights.
Oh.
So it was really cool because the first Emerald Nights was really like a worldwide affair. Because
What studio was it that you did it at?
we did it across 2 different studios in Europe. So one was called, I think it was called King Chubby's in Brighton, UK.
Oh, damn.
And then
Okay.
there was another studio in Birmingham, UK, that we recorded at. I forgot the name of it, but it's actually a reggae studio that primarily did like reggae music. But we tracked everything while we were out there, and all the production was done by a producer in Canada named Fresh Kills, who's a really dope hip hop producer. And then we took the files and brought them back to the States and mixed them. So everything was recorded in Europe. The beats were produced by a producer in Canada, and then everything was mixed in the United States. So it was a really cool way to make an album, and obviously we felt really inspired while we were there. Mega Ran did his first like headlining shows overseas on that tour, so he was
Damn.
headlining and I was his direct support
That's
on the
cool.
tour. Then we came back and we did the Northwest and Southwest, and we did like a date in Canada. We were in Vancouver,
Oh wow.
and that was dope. Van City, and Seattle, Portland, obviously like Phoenix and stuff. Great tour, man. And Mega Ran was just obviously an awesome artist to tour with on your very first tour.
That's
Because
crazy.
I soaked up so much game and I learned so much, and it was such a great and unique opportunity for me. So, yeah, that's the homie, man, for life.
That's wild. I wouldn't even have thought like to be in that position, for your first, not even just your first tour. It's your first international tour, bro. You went out the country, out the gate. Like not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah,
That's
man.
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm grateful for real.
Dang.
Eternally grateful.
And then for that album cover, I seen that you guys did it was like a kind of like a Beatles mock-up.
Yeah, so it pays homage to Abbey Road. And so you
with
see,
the crosswalk.
Felix in all assortments of the Mega Man costume. Like one has the helmet on, one has the arm cannon. You know what I mean? And they're all walking across Abbey Road, and it's like a painting.
That album is cool. We definitely need to get some pictures of that. That's some pretty creative artwork. After that, what happened with your career? Did you end up going to Japan right after that? Or did
No,
you
I haven't gone to Japan. I want to go to Japan. But basically what happened after that was I came back and I continued working on Cats Out the Bag.
That album, tell me about that album.
That's a special album to me. Not to say that there's, each album is special in its own way.
Yeah, exactly.
But Cats Out the Bag was the first time that I really felt like I found my sound, and people became more aware of me because I had only released one project before that, and some singles and stuff, and they didn't do like incredibly well, but Cats Out the Bag did really well. I mean, it was the first project that I put out that charted on Billboard. It had like some of the biggest features, you know what I mean? I worked with D12 on a record. And yeah, like some of the best videos that I've ever shot were on that album, and it was just such a fun time because it was a really great learning experience for me. And yeah, I really am like sentimental about Cats Out the Bag.
My favorite record is probably the one for the video that I missed, and I wish I wouldn't have missed it. It was the one where you had all the TVs and every
For the culture.
for the culture.
Yeah,
That
for the
video
culture.
shoot had every At the
That
time,
was
every
like a
poppin' artist in
3 day
Arizona.
shoot. That was like a 3-4 day shoot.
Who shot that?
LJ.
Oh
LJ
yeah,
Beats.
LJ
LJ
Beats,
Cinematics.
my guy
LJ's my
LJ.
guy. LJ has shot like 90% of my videos.
Is he still doing them?
Yeah, he still does video. He's just super picky about it. But
Oh, okay, okay.
LJ's my homie. I've known LJ since I was 16. You know what I mean? Like, I used to go to LJ's apartment and he would sell me beats for like $20 and record me in his apartment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I was like his little homie and stuff. And yeah, so yeah, LJ's another one that just LJ's on the team for life.
Bro, it feels like every single aspect of your life you've touched somewhere where it's helped you grow creatively. Like you got your grandmother who was already in her lane, and then you got your career where you started making, with tapes, recording with cassettes. And then you got your first international tour, bro, and then it just keeps going from there. Like, tell me about how you met 50 Cent, bro. Tell me your time with Lil Boosie. Like, let's get into those.
Oh, 50 was in town for the Effin' Lounge that was being built at Talking Stick.
Okay.
It was when he was the spokesperson for Effin'. And I happen to know somebody that worked at Beam Suntory. And Beam Suntory is the parent company to Effin'. They own Jim Beam. So Jim Beam owned Effin'. And so I was able to meet him 2 times. I met him at the Effin' Lounge when it was like right before doors opened and stuff. He was hanging out there and we kicked it a little bit. And then it was like a day or so later, he was out in Scottsdale. And
You just ran into him again?
no, that same person got me into his section.
Oh, okay.
So he had a table, you know what I mean, that was roped off and stuff. And it was just people from Jim Beam and Beam Suntory and Effin', girls, him, his security, and me.
Did he drop any gems on you? I know it's in the club. Probably didn't talk
You
about
know,
much,
like
but
we talked for like 2 or 3 minutes, man. But I had just come back from Detroit from doing a record with D12, so like that was the first thing I said to him was, I just came back from Detroit. I was in the studio with D12,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, that's dope. I haven't seen those dudes in a while and stuff." He was like, "You make music?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he just gave me some words of encouragement. You know what I mean? And shook my hand, told me, "Hey, let's get a pic."
Do you want to share the words? Or
He told me
is it like
he told me to just keep going. He said, "You obviously moving in the right direction. You here with me somehow. You know what I mean? You out in the studio in Detroit with them, so you obviously doing something. So just keep doing what you're doing, dog."
Okay, that's some good advice though. Even from somebody like him, he could just easily look past the other way.
Yeah, I mean, 50's a huge inspiration for me. Like that era of hip hop, 2000 to 2010. I got mad respect for the 90s. You know what I mean? I love 90s hip hop, but man, there's something in the water in 2000 to 2010 because the albums that came out then, you know what I'm talking about, that the G Unit run, and it's not just 50.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because 50 got Get Rich or Die Trying, The Massacre. You got G Unit Beg for Mercy. You got Lloyd Banks Hunger for More. Young Buck Straight Outta Cashville. Eminem, Marshall Mathers, The Eminem Show. You got Kanye coming out with College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation. You got T.I. with Urban Legend and King. Like, just the Paper Trail, like Ludacris, like just the amount of dope classic albums that just came out during that decade. It's just Missy Elliott.
It was like
Busta Rhymes, DMX.
It was like '01 to.
You know what I mean? Jadakiss, The Lox. Like, man, just crazy albums from 2000 to 2010. And like that era, like 50, like is one of those artists to me that like if Get Rich or Die Trying didn't come out, and like the Eminem Show didn't come out, and Chronic 2001 didn't come out, like if those albums never came out, like I think to myself, like, would I even care about doing this as much as I do? You know what I mean? Like, if you just took those albums away from, my adolescence and stuff, and I was listening to some other shit, like, how would it have shaped me as a person? Like, I just can't imagine it. So,
exactly.
Obviously, like, it's a really humbling moment to be in the room, with somebody who influenced you like that. Even though I don't make music like 50, the music that he made really, really shaped what I wanted to do in life. So yeah, I'm blessed to have even had the opportunity to be in the room with him. I mean, blessed to work with D12 in the studio. Like,
Yeah,
couldn't
50.
imagine that at 12 years old.
That's something that a lot of people don't necessarily even comprehend at the moment until it's passing. Like, you're sitting there talking about it like, that's your idol, or one of them at least, and then you're in the room with them, and it just totally changes your perspective and helps you grow.
Oh, big time.
That's just
Big time.
something.
How could it not?
That's something that's so genuine. We need more of. Speaking of the next artist that you were in the room with, Boosie.
Oh, Lil
How
Boosie.
was Boosie?
Lil Boosie's cool. Justice brought him out for an event. You know what I mean? And we hung out backstage, and he came to the studio and did a few features for some cats. And I mean, we didn't really have as much interaction as a lot of the other people I've met. But he was cool.
What's another artist you might have met besides D12 Bizarre? That's what I was gonna get to. How did you link up with him?
Honestly, it was just through email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I reached out to him with a record, and then he hopped on the record, and then I brought him out for an event. I brought him out to shoot a video with me and stuff, and then he had a good experience with me out here, and then invited me to go to Detroit and to bring LJ to shoot a video for D12 and stuff, and we do a record together.
Damn,
and
you got
yeah,
the plug. Okay.
me and Bizarre though we kind of had a falling out, but
Ah.
me and Kaniva and stuff are still cool. And Kaniva was just on
That's good.
a record that I dropped a couple months ago called "Count on That" with Collins.
That was a good one. After your encounter with Bizarre, I remember you did a few shows where you were DJing. You remember DJing the shows?
No, maybe I was like a little.
Or maybe
bit.
I just seen you behind the counter.
Yeah, I may have just been there because I thrown a lot of events with Justice.
Yeah, that's actually it. I remember
There was an era there of a few years where me and Justice threw like countless events. I can't even count how many events we've thrown.
I remember meeting you 2015, July. That was the first time I met you. You did a show at Shakers.
Oh yeah, I remember Shakers.
Shakers
was a cool spot.
It was a nice little venue, man. That was my first time performing in front of a crowd, and I met you and Justice that night. And I just kind of watched you guys, man, and then even jumping into the festival, how you guys started bringing that out. I didn't even know you guys did a whole festival when I came in, because it was just the second one by the time I got there. But as far as your next project after the first Emerald Nights, was it the Cats Out the Bag? Or
Yeah,
was
Cats
it...
Out the Bag came directly after Emerald Nights.
And then Emerald Nights 2, how did that occur?
Well, Emerald Nights 2 happened when we got our building that we're currently in. So,
And that's HKS?
yeah, HKS. So, my cousin and I moved into the building in September of 2016. And then by May of 2017 or so, we had to do like extensive remodeling to the other half of the building, which included my studio. And by May of 2017, I had that studio up and running. And Mega was already recording with Brian.
Oh, okay.
Before I had my studio. But once I had my studio, Mega started coming in and working with me. And so it was just like, now I have this studio. Now I have the studio. The first Emerald Nights did well. And we felt that there was a lot that we didn't get to say on the first Emerald Nights. Because we didn't want to come back to the studio out here and start adding to the album. We wanted to kind of record everything while we were out there. So, like, once we got the songs done out there, it was done, And there was a lot of things that we didn't get to say, a lot of styles that we didn't get to partake in on the project. And so, about a year and a half, 2 years later, I got this studio that we could be at at any time, and it was just let's revisit that idea. And so that's what it was. And I mean, me and Megaran just have like a lot of chemistry together in the studio.
You guys work well.
Yeah, and it's just beyond Emerald Nights, like, because I record 90 95% of Mega Ran's other music,
Damn.
like his solo music. So,
Okay.
like, it's beyond just Emerald Knights. Like, we just have like really good chemistry in the studio and know how to communicate really well and are good at bouncing ideas off each other. And so, yeah, you really get to see that on the Emerald Knights projects because we both bring something out of us that can't be done solo. Like when I rap with Mega, it does something to me that I wouldn't necessarily do on my own, and it does the same thing for him. We take each other out of our comfort zones really well. So
Okay, that brings some good content that way.
yeah, and it always works out really well. He's one of my favorite people to collaborate with. And I think I'm one of his favorite people to collaborate with too.
I would say so. I don't see him
Yeah.
on a lot of other records with people.
Yeah, he does a lot of features. He does a lot of features, but he
The
doesn't. He don't make albums with a whole bunch of people.
yeah, exactly, exactly. People are very particular who they work with as far as music. Trust me, I'm in that same boat.
Yeah.
You guys did a video game soundtrack. Tell me about that.
It was one of the records for Emerald Knights 2 that got picked up for a video game.
Which game was it?
It's called Desert Child.
I played that one.
It's Desert
It was
Child.
hard.
And
There
it's
was
like
this guy like go ahead.
it was like a 2D racing game, like this futuristic 2D racing game. And yeah, it's a cool game. You know what I mean? We got a couple records that were placed from the Emerald Knights too. We had a record that appeared on Ball in the Family, about the Ball family in the NBA.
Oh damn.
They had a little reality TV show, so that was on there. I'm trying to think of what else. I had a record placed. It wasn't Emerald Knights, but I had a couple other records placed too. But yeah, I think those were the two for Emerald Knights: Desert Child, and then the reality show.
What's your favorite track off of Emerald Knights 2? Time to dig deep.
That's tough, man. Let me look at the track list real quick. Hold on.
Go edit this out.
Let's take a peek at the track list.
My favorite track off of there, I can't even say for sure, but it's got to be the '90s one. Like,
Get Out the 90s is a favorite from a lot of people. And like some people really don't like us for that song. They think we diss it.
damn, that's the thing.
You know
man.
what?
Like,
I'm going to have to say Love Is Here.
Love Is There.
That's the record that did get placed in Desert Child. And the reason I'm going to say Love Is Here is because I personally think the verse that Mega spit on Love Is Here is one of his best verses of all time.
You think so?
I think it's one of his best verses of all time.
Gonna have to
And
put that
it's
to
on
the
a
test.
record, and it's on a record with me. And yeah, I just really like the message of it.
What inspired you both to write that song?
Well, we were really inspired by a classic 2000 to 2010 album, The Game, Doctor's Advocate.
Advocate.
His last track on there is a track called Why You Hate the Game,
Yeah.
with Mary J. Blige and Nas. And it's this really long track. Like, if you listen to it, it's something like 7 or 8 minutes.
Jesus.
But it's great. It's a great outro track. And we wanted, like, this epic, like, long outro track that just made you feel good and that you didn't want to end, even though it was long. And so we, we felt really inspired by that record when we made Love Is Here. And we had this really talented singer named Aluna, who makes music out here. She's really great. She sang the chorus on there. And then a childhood friend of mine named Jared the Alien, who plays guitar. He's done guitar on a handful of my records. He does this really beautiful guitar solo at the end that's just incredible. So
I have to go back and listen to it again.
yeah, I love that record.
I miss music that used to be like that. Like, I'm not sure how many, people in general listen to older songs like the 70s funk and all that. Like, you had Gap Band, bro. They made a song where it was just a regular 4-minute song, and then they had the 12-inch version. You listen to like 8 minutes. But it just kept going so well. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that, there's two kinds of people, and it both works. You have artists that look at it more as a business that say, hey, not as many people are going to hear it if it's not 2.5 minutes, if it's not 3 minutes, or if it's not structured this way with hook, verse, hook, and then outro. You know what I mean? Like they're more concerned with the amount of people that are going to hear it. And then you have a different kind of artist that considers their music to be more of art and are don't really care about the quantity of people that hear it. I mean, obviously you want people to hear it, but it's not going to change your creative decisions when you're expressing yourself. And so I think that there's a place for both.
Okay.
I do. I think that there's a place for both. I don't think one is better than the other. I don't think one is more elite than the other. You know what I mean?
I can relate to that.
It's just, it depends on the record, and it depends on what you want out of the record. And so, Love Is Here isn't a single. Like, we weren't going to shoot a music video to it and push that record. But that record ended up being one of the 2 records that got placed. Which is crazy. So that just goes to show you, you don't necessarily need to follow this cookie cutter structure for your record to be successful. You could still make a long record and it can be successful.
It's just got to be fire.
It's got to be real.
I feel that. I made a few records like that in my day, but you, more than yourself, bro, like, aside from you and Mega Ran, you've yourself written some crazy ass verses in the 10 years that I've even heard your music. As far as I think it's about 10 years worth.
Yeah, my first album came out in 2014, so it's going to be 10 years old next year.
Yeah, so I've definitely seen you put up some gems, bro. Aside from those projects, let's jump into the next one, Felix Chevrolet.
Oh, Felix Chevrolet.
I got to get the deets on this one, bro. I've been waiting to hear this.
So, controversial project, man.
So as far as...
For those that know the stories behind it.
As far as the album, let's kind of trickle into it a little bit.
Yeah.
What inspired you to make that album?
So that album is really was spawned while we were making Emerald Knights 2.
Okay.
I started working on it at the same time. Like, we were just wrapping up Emerald Knights 2, and Mega Ran introduced me to a really dope producer who I still work with today, that has worked on a lot of records for people in the scene, named G1 to the Rescue.
Hey.
And G1 to the Rescue, he's just great. And he came into the studio, and the first record we did was a record called Rappers and Their Feelings. And then we did Heat Stroke, which ended up being a single on Emerald Knights 2. And then he did Unbelievable, and he did Love Is Here. So he did 4 records on Emerald Knights 2. And I was just really, really feeling the records that he was making.
To make it survive?
Yeah, and so it was like, yo, I need you to just come to the studio and we'll work on something. And so Felix Chevrolet is the only project where I've done this. But I actually wrote the project in the order in which you hear them. So when he came to the studio, for the first time, he'd made the beat, and as he's making the beat, I'm writing the lyrics, and when he's done and I'm done, I record it.
Wow.
And the first song we made is the first song you hear, and the next song we made is the next song you hear, and it was done.
Artists rarely do that.
It was done in that order.
That's cool.
And the last song on it, which is just like a flex song, it's called 100 Years. We actually made on the spot as we were mixing the rest. We were in Studio A with my cousin Brian, who's
shout
incredible.
Out to Brian.
Yeah, shout out to Brian.
Mad scientist right there.
But we were in studio with Brian, and we were working on the mixes for the other records, and then G1 was like, yo, I got an idea for a record. And I was like, yeah, let's do that, because I sent him some samples of my grandma, and he made the beat. Man, he must have made that beat in 30 minutes, and within an hour or so I had the verse, because it's just a long verse. I had it written. I was like, yo, let's record it, and we added it to the album super last minute. But yeah, it was really done naturally and organically, and just a unique way of making an album. And
What's your favorite project on it?
my favorite song on there?
Yeah.
It's probably a record called Just Take It.
That was a good one.
Just Take It's probably my
That
favorite
was
record
interesting
on there.
to me. Can you break that down for us a little bit? Like how you came up with it?
Well, Just Take It is, it's already kind of been done before, just my twist on it. And it's a record that can be looked at from two perspectives. So the first perspective you look at it is breaking up with a girl. And the second perspective, that I'm looking at is I'm breaking up with music. And so
Okay.
it was just, a cool concept that I really liked exploring and stuff. And it was one of the first records where I started to like sing a little bit on it. And
You
so,
did the auto tune the first time. I remember
man,
that.
auto-tune's a hell of
I
a drug. You
remember
ever
that.
see Dave Chappelle? Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Man, auto-tune is a hell of a drug.
Yeah. That's wild. So the next part for that album, I understand you was gonna go down to the Felix Chevrolet dealership in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went in there, kind of tell us what happened the first time.
Well, I was in LA for the Grammys.
Oh
Because-
shit, we'll get into that next.
I was in LA for the Grammys because Emerald Knights 2 made it to the Grammy shortlist. And basically, like, the shortlist is albums that are in consideration for a nomination in a category. And there's about 100, albums or songs for each category that are in consideration that members vote on. And so, obviously, Emerald Knights 2 didn't get nominated, but I was at the Grammys anyway that year, and I was working on Felix Chevrolet. I said, you know what, I'm going to go to the Felix Chevrolet dealership because I definitely want to shoot a music video here. And I think that they would appreciate my story with my grandma and everything. So I went out there, and I asked to speak to the GM. I talked to the GM. I told him everything, and he was just like elated with the story. He was so excited, and he thought it was so cool. I showed him the artwork, which was something that I had done commissioned. A really cool graphic designer named Donji Designs out in the UK, who I met on that first tour. And it was a picture of me, cartoon, sitting on top of the Felix Chevrolet sign in LA. And he saw it. He thought it was so cool. I said, I want to shoot a music video here. He said, awesome. Let me email you like the details of what we would need, and we'll go from there. So he did. He emailed me. He sent me the details, and they were totally fine. They were going to let me just use the property, but under the condition that I had to pay for insurance for liabilities, and I could only go through the company they wanted me to go through. And it was going to cost like something ridiculous for me to insure me being there and making sure nothing got broken and stuff for me to be able to shoot the music video there. So I declined on shooting it there. I was like, it's just out of my budget.
What was it cost?
I don't want to say.
Alright. Almost got it, almost.
So anyway, I declined it. I'm, posting about the album. It's during the pre-order time, so I'm pushing the pre-order. The artwork's everywhere. I'm pumping out music videos and songs.
So was this a time when you went in there with the baseball bat? I'm just kidding.
No, I was not Ice Cube. But they were still engaging with me online, like the dealership, like their Facebook page, their Instagram page would like all the photos and leave comments of how cool it was.
It seemed like they were on board.
Yeah, like they were cool. And then it started on Billboard.
Oh shit!
And it charted pretty high. It charted pretty high on Billboard on the rap chart.
Okay.
It was like number 19 or something in hip hop albums.
Damn. All right.
And so,
Okay.
like, I think that they thought that I was really making lots of money, and they also thought that it wasn't my talent or my music that was the reason for its success. It was the fact that I was using their name of their dealership. And so they sent me a cease and desist on the name of the project and the artwork right after a chart on Billboard.
Bullshit. Fuck y'all.
Which, is kind of devastating in a way, because it's like, okay, like, this artwork that, I've been promoting for the past few months.
Yeah.
Like, now I can't use the name that I've been promoting for a few months that just charted on Billboard. I can't use that name anymore. So, Arizona Republic, New Times, got a hold of the story and stuff, and they started reporting about it. And, and then Felix Chevrolet, the GM, was like, when he came, I told him he couldn't use that. Like, nah, dude. Like,
Damn,
you
classic
were
Hollywood
excited.
shit.
You were excited that I was there. You know what I mean?
Damn.
So, they're lost. So what I did basically was I just changed it from the Chevrolet from a C to an S.
Ooh, clever.
And then I just blurred out the cover. Like, I just pixelated the cover, and it was kind of like my fuck you to Felix Chevrolet. Like,
Okay.
I always joked about doing a Felix Chevrolet Part 2, an album, and the artwork would be like me, like, in front of the Felix Chevrolet dealership, and it's like burned down and there's smoke and stuff. Like, I've always thought about doing a Part 2 like that, but I don't think it's a concept that I'd revisit. But it actually helped the project because it was already bubbling, obviously, beforehand. And then once that happened, I saw everything shoot up from it. So they actually kind of helped the album again. They helped it in a way. So, yeah, shout out to Felix Chevrolet for the controversy. You got the most controversial artwork ever to come out of Arizona. So
That's wild, man. You definitely should do another album. Maybe you don't even have to touch the same concepts or anything, but definitely do a follow-up to that. That was a great album. Great project.
Thanks, man.
Grammys. How the hell did you get to the Grammys?
Well, the Grammys is part of the Recording Academy. And so the Recording Academy is an organization that's for music advocacy. Advocacy, not music advocacy.
Okay.
And they basically help with music education. They help with the rights for musicians, both recording and live musicians. They do lots of great stuff on a community level and on a global level for music creators and educators and people within the industry in general. And so the Recording Academy is who throws the Grammys. And so I am a voting member of the Recording Academy. So since I'm a voting member of the Recording Academy, I have the ability to go to the Grammys.
That's wow. How do you, that's probably so much deeper stuff to go into as far as how you even become a member of that. But that's pretty cool that you even got to be in the crowd at the Grammys, even be there.
Yeah, I've gone 2 times, and I thought about going this past year, but
what was the first anniversary? Was it 2 years ago or 3?
Oh, I mean, I went to the Grammys in 2019 and in 2020.
Okay, so it's 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Still, that's dope. 2 times? Damn.
Yeah.
You're gonna go.
I could go back again. Yeah,
You're gonna go again.
Grammys is awesome. Fun time.
Your outfit, bro.
Oh yeah, the outfit
for the
Grammys.
Outfit's
too fresh, son.
You was rocking that damn yellow suit, bro. You reminded me of what's that movie, The Mask, bro. You was just in there flexing with that suit. That was a hell of a suit, my guy.
Thank you, man. Yeah, a lot of people commented on it.
Bro, I could pick you out of the crowd over anybody, bro. You was highlighted that night.
Man, I was one of the freshest at the Grammys, man.
I can't even disagree.
Can't front.
Can't even disagree. After that, what you been doing since, or during COVID, I should say? What were you doing with your time?
So 2020 was a really rough year for me for a lot of reasons, both professionally and personally. The year started off 3 years into the year, our building got flooded. The studio got totally flooded and stuff, and I was out of work with the studio for a couple months while insurance came in and repaired everything. And then shortly after, my dad had a stroke, so there was that. Shit. And then literally right when I got the studio back up and running, COVID hit. And so it was a tough time. 2020 was a tough year, and I was not in the right headspace to really be creating. I made, I think, one or two records that I put out that year. I only put out like two records that year. And one was Stay Safe, which did really well with my homegirl, Whitney Payton. And we put that out, I think, in November of 2020. And that was like really the only record that I super pushed and got behind that year. 2021, though, was, I came back with that year. I put out two EPs that year and some singles.
They were fire.
Yeah, I put out a project called Bad Luck, and then I put out another one called Milk and Vodka that was produced by Vaca Graves. He's from Tucson. He lives in LA now, but
shout out to Vodka.
Really, really dope producer and engineer.
How's your father doing, bro?
Oh, he's fine. He's good.
Yeah, Pop's doing well? That's good.
He survived. It's good.
Not a lot of people know about strokes, man. Like, when a person has a stroke, when they're speaking, it sounds like gibberish. Like, you think something's like they're just playing a joke or something, but, like, it's so serious. Like, even myself, my pop had a stroke as well last July.
Oh, man.
And it was a crazy scene, bro, because I see him getting up to work every day, then all of a sudden he started having like a stomach pain, couldn't get up and go to work, had to take a few months off, and then he goes to the hospital, finds out he's got to get heart surgery, and then like a day or two later he just has a stroke.
Scary, man.
Yeah, like if we would have waited, like we might have lost him, but he's
you gotta act fast.
Exactly.
You gotta act fast,
exactly.
for sure.
Definitely need some more awareness on that and how to at least get another warning sign ahead of that. We don't want to wait till the person's a vegetable to do something. That's fucked up. But as far as, sorry, to go back into your career, Whitney Payton, how did you meet her?
Oh, me and Whitney met, it was the third year of the Arizona Hip Hop Festival, so it was in 2016. And we met, there was a spot called Colorline Media. Bougie used to own Colorline Media. And we handled a lot of booking there, so we would book events and stuff. But there was also like a space to shoot videos. They had the white walls and a green screen. And Whitney was there with her manager and a videographer shooting. And so I met her there, and then Justice ended up booking her for the festival that year, and so we were performing around the same time, and we met there. And then during that time, she was constantly on the road. Like, she was touring, 300 days out of the year. And she'd come to the studio sometimes, like as soon as in 2017 when my studio was up and running. When she was in town, she'd come in and, like, for a day and, like, record a couple songs and stuff for features or whatever. And then she'd be back out on the road. And then when the pandemic happened, obviously she wasn't touring. So then she started getting in the studio a lot. And, Whitney's one of my best friends, man, for life. Another one.
Yeah, you guys just did a record with The Game, too, right?
Yeah, we did me, Whitney, and Willie in The Game.
Willie North Pole on the track?
Shout out to the big homie Willie.
Body marked
Big
up.
Willie.
Big Willie. Man, I met Willie at a show one time that you guys are throwing in Tempe. He was a cool cat. He's a little quiet, but he's cool.
Yeah, Willie's a legend, man.
Yeah, he's definitely a legend, man. I can't even deny
Willie
that.
is the only artist ever from Arizona to have his album distributed by Def Jam.
What?
And put in Target and Best Buy and everything when CDs were a thing. He's the only one that ever did that. And nobody did it before, and nobody could do it again. He's the one and only that did that.
Damn.
Legend.
That's definitely got some legend status right there. I feel that.
Almost got signed to G Unit during their prime.
I remember
then
that.
Then got signed to Disturbing the Peace.
It was like 07, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Then he was signed to Disturbing the Peace, and it was a wrap.
Yeah, it was a wild time when Body Marked Up came out. I was still in high school.
Yeah. Legend, man. Shout out to the big homie Willie.
Definitely. The festival, how did that come together?
Well, the festival is Justice's like conception.
But you're pretty much like this.
I played a hand in helping coordinate it and growing it for sure. But I can't take the credit for creating it or anything because that was all Justice. In fact, when he first did it, I was just booked. Like I was still in a group back then, and
Oh shit, you were in a group.
yeah, I was in a group, and he booked
Getting that
me and my
mix.
group to perform, and then by year 2, I was on staff, and I was helping book and coordinate the event. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous amount of responsibility, of work, of cost.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of cats can say what they want about the Arizona Hip Hop Festival. Cats would never spend the money that Justice spent to make that happen. Cats would never do it.
I
They never
agree.
do it. They say they would. They say they would, but they never spend that money
I agree. There's
to
definitely
make that happen.
there's definitely some individuals that kind of raise the stakes, but other ones raise the bar with action. You definitely got to put your money where your mouth
Yeah,
is.
and Justice just, I mean, his impact on the scene is crazy.
What was your favorite festival so far?
My favorite festival, I have fond memories of all of the ones that I worked on, but I would have to say it's a toss-up between year 5 and 6.
Year 5 and 6? How
And
so?
maybe I lean a little more towards year 5.
How so?
Well, we were no longer with Live Nation for those events. So years 1 through 4, we were partnered with Live Nation. We broke away from Live Nation, which is a ballsy move because a lot of people would kill to be working with Live Nation.
And that's when you went from Comerica to other venues?
Yeah, we went to Monarch, and it was we shut down a whole block of downtown Phoenix, and it was just the energy and the layout of the festival. The artists that were booked was just great, and yeah, I really enjoyed that year a lot. Year 6 was great too. That's we had the press room, and the press room was in Phoenix. And we shut down that whole area. That was great. Year 3 was awesome. I mean, the lineup on year 3 was great. Year 4 was great. I mean, that was the first year that we shut down a street. Before year 4, it was all indoors.
Yeah.
You know, other than the festival like stage that was like on the sidewalk right when you entered the building. Like, we didn't shut down no streets. But year 4, we were shutting down streets. We literally shut the city down.
Damn.
We shut the whole city down. Like, couldn't even drive downtown because of the festival, you know what I mean? So like, cats can say what they want about the festival, but they'll never ever get close to duplicating something with that much energy.
Yeah,
Justice is the only cat in Arizona that could pull that off.
We definitely need somebody to take that medal. Whoever watching this shit, y'all might want to put some money in Arizona. All right, I'm a little off topic right here, but your fits, bro.
Oh, the fits?
You always have some crazy ass outfits, bro.
Man, I'm a real nostalgic dude, man. I love
amazing.
my nostalgia, bro.
What's your
I
favorite?
think everybody's nostalgic nowadays. Everybody's like, I grew up in the 90s. I love the 90s.
I got a CD player. I'm just kidding.
You know what I mean? Everybody's nostalgic. I've always been really nostalgic and into...
What's your favorite outfit you got?
I don't know, man.
It
changes.
You be changing outfits that much? You got a whole like 300 pair of clothes in your
Nah,
closet?
but I don't wear the same shit forever, you know what I mean?
Man, you always had
You're
like...
not going to see me in this sweater again in another interview.
Shit, I might not ever see this motherfucker again. It's gonna be in the closet, just in collection case. It's gonna say Felix's Dexter shirt.
Yeah, bro.
That's a hard ass sweater.
No, they should be paying me, but I'm going to plug them. Shout out to Dumb Good. Dumbgood.com. They got a lot of the cool retro stuff that I like.
Y'all hear that?
So
Dumb Good.
But they should pay me, but
Get this man an endorsement or something.
give me a check. Give me a check. I'll shout you out everywhere I go.
Seriously, do something. For artists that are watching you right now and see you as somebody who their idol would be, or even you as an idol to these people, what would you have for advice as far as how they can maybe get themselves in the game or even just excel themselves further?
You know, the game, like music, and just being an entrepreneur, but really music in general, man, there's so many layers to it. And there's so much that you have to learn that it's overwhelming. And I think that lots of cats fall in love with one part of it. They fall in love with being in the studio making a song, but they don't necessarily like, you know what I mean, figuring out the business end of things. They fall in love with performing on stage. They fall in love with doing interviews. They fall in love with shooting a music video and being the man that day. And you know what I mean? They fall in love with the easy things to fall in love with, but you have to find joy in the things that aren't like that. You have to find joy in figuring out, man, how am I going to campaign this song? Like, how am I going to find a cool way to market this? Ooh, how am I going to find out the loophole to make this happen? How am I going to, who do I got to talk to get here? Like, you have to find the same passion that you find in making the art and being the man and doing the shows and all that in the stuff that most find not fun.
Exactly.
You have to love it all. You can't just love one piece of it. You gotta love it all. And so if you don't love it all, it ain't for you. We not in the time anymore where you can just have other people do everything. We not in that time no more where you could just say, oh, you know, I don't really like doing that side of things. I'll just have somebody else do it. You won't get the same result.
Yeah, nowadays
You know what I mean?
everybody doing
A lot of stuff, a lot of
everything.
artists and the most successful artists are DIY. And like, not saying you don't need a team. You need a team of people who specialize in different things. You need a cool producer. You need a dope engineer. You need a cool videographer that's going to help you. But you can't rely on, you know, a manager or a label or anybody to put in all this footwork for you. You know, labels don't develop artists anymore. Labels want developed artists. A label isn't going to approach you for a deal until you don't even need them anymore. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I'd say, you know, and it changes every time I do this. Cats always say, well, what would you say to artists that are inspiring to be out there and do your thing? And you know, my answer has changed over the years, and next time someone asks me, it may be different, but right now the first thing that comes to mind is that you have to love it all. Don't just love the cool stuff. Love the stuff that's not so cool.
The good, the bad, the motherfucking ugly.
Yeah.
So what would be something that you would like to change in Arizona as far as the music scene out here? And it could be any genre.
The thing I would change is artists. Like, every year it happens since the beginning of time of artists talking about unity. The only reason Arizona isn't on is because we not unified. We don't have unity. Like, you go to Atlanta, there's unity. No, there's the fuck not. Shut up with that shit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even... Man, we in 2023.
Yeah.
Do you know what the internet is?
For real.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like, Arizona just needs a sound. All these other places... Nah, dog.
We have the sound.
There is no, like, it used to be that way where, oh, the South had a sound, New York had a sound, you know what I mean, the West Coast has a sound. It ain't like that no more.
Yeah.
Because people are exposed now to all different kinds of music. And you could be anywhere in the world and be influenced by that music. So, like, how can you say, oh, this state has a sound now?
Yeah.
You know, there's artists that I work with out here, because I record a lot of artists. There's artists that I work with out here that sound like they grew up in Buffalo. You know what I mean? They give these gritty raps and could go bar for bar with West Side Gun. And then I got some cats that do some turn up shit and they sound like they could be in the South. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that.
You know what's a good example of that is drill music.
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly.
European from Chicago, and even from that to New York, it's like it bounced right back.
Exactly. Like, there is no, like, oh, this state has a sound. That doesn't apply anymore. So just even suggesting that means that your views on it are archaic and out of date.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? There is no unity. Like, I don't need other Arizona artists to come fuck with me like that. You know what I mean? I don't need other Arizona artists to lift my music up. Why do you want other Arizona artists to respect you so bad? Why do you care? You know what I mean? Like, make music that you think is cool, that you think is dope, that you would like to listen to, and make sure it sounds good. Make sure when you present it, it looks good. Your videos look good. Your photos look good. You hop on good shows and stuff. You know, like, just be a good artist. Don't worry about what's happening in Arizona.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I still think, like, it's come a long way, and there are more people that do that, but every year I always see it. We need unity. Fuck your unity.
Y'all heard it first, right here. Easy way to
Straight up. I love Arizona, and I love the artists out here, but y'all don't need to be worrying about who's fucking with who and none of that. You can be successful without it. Some of the biggest cats out here are like that. Like cats like, you know what I mean? Twisted Insane.
Yeah.
Like, cats tell, oh, we need a list. Twisted Insane, man, was rapping with Tech Nine and has a big cult following. You know what I mean? And, like, he doesn't care what cats from Arizona think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cryptic Wisdom has videos and songs with millions upon millions of views. Yeah. Like, do you think he was concerned about what somebody in the scene thought?
For real.
If he was on so-and-so show, and if, he wasn't nominated for this local award, like,
he ain't on the list? What?
You know what I mean? You think Merkham's cares?
For real.
Merkham's don't care.
He don't give a fuck.
Merkham's worried about, you know what I mean, what Ice-T think. He not worried about what you think.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I wish more artists had that mindset. And then as a whole, we would get further.
This interview better make people's perspectives broaden, because that's some real shit. And honestly, if you're already doing some good shit out here and you're really critiquing your craft, motherfuckers are gonna gravitate to each other without even knowing it. Look at everybody that's come to AZ Way Too Active. Look at the fact we got Felix the Cat here, Bag of Tricks Cat at this fucking compound right now. That's because of some active shit. Another question I had on my mind: being an artist and now you're an engineer as well, what's been different between the two?
I've been so I learned how to record and stuff when I was a teenager, and then, like, after high school, like, I took some courses and stuff, like, through college and everything. When you engineer, it changes the way that you write songs, and it changes the way you appreciate music, and it just makes you better, I think. I don't think I'd be as good of a songwriter, and not to say, like, I'm the best or anything, because I don't think that. But
your pen game is
I
definitely
feel
nice.
like I
I'll say
wouldn't
that.
be as good if I didn't know how to engineer,
Yeah.
because it changes the way I write. It changes the way I approach, you know, and I learn a lot from people I record too. You know what I mean? Like, there's some things that somebody does, like, you know, that I would have never thought of. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool technique. Now that trick's in the bag. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it just enhances what's already there.
Okay. And as far as that aspect, has that helped you with the new music that you're writing now?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's helped me for years. Absolutely.
Can we get a sneak peek on what you're working on? Can you discuss? Can we get some gems?
Not yet.
Damn.
It's coming though. It's coming this year. It's coming 2023, and it's going to be my first release on album release. I've released a couple singles now, but first album release on Whitney Payton's.
Oh, you
label,
decided
Alpha
to do
House.
an album?
Yeah, album's coming out this year.
Oh shit! Last time I seen this man, he was like, "I'm done with albums," and now look at him.
Now it's an album. You see, I mean, I changed my mind. Next time I'm in an interview, see, I'm got me all fucked up. Next time I'm in an interview, I'm going to be saying, we need unity. I changed my mind.
We get a tattoo that says Unity right here.
Unity.
That's fucking crazy, man. Well, we're definitely interested in what you got going on, bro. We definitely love you here in Arizona. You've been putting on more than one way just for the scene, bro. From your music to you helping out the festival to you even growing as an artist, you engineering, like everything you touch, you definitely making this shit better. And a lot more people need to come to you, bro. I know you're doing classes too and stuff, right?
I mean, yeah, I do. I consult artists and stuff when.
Just consultation, or is it engineering?
Yeah,
as well?
like, huh?
Engineering too, or just consultation?
Oh
for
no,
new
I mean,
artists?
I engineer all the time. You know, I'm constantly doing mixes.
Like, if you have a class, bro, where you like come in and teach a bunch of engineers, bro, I think you get some good people out of that.
I'm okay.
You do good, bro.
I'm good enough to fool
I ain't
you.
trying to cap. Like, this man has mixed my last 2 albums.
I'm okay.
He's working on my one right now.
I'm pretty good at fooling you. I'm good. I'm pretty good.
See that? Cat's out the bag. I'm just kidding. But other than that, bro, shit, there's a lot of topics we could touch on still because you got a big ass catalog.
Well, bring me back when the next album drops. Bring me back and we'll talk about it all.
We're definitely gonna get you back in here, bro. Most definitely. I'm happy you came, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Shit.
Thanks for having me. If you're gonna support something, support AZ Way Too Active, man. They're really doing it over here. They got the gift shop, they got the venue, they got a studio. Man, what more you need? So come holler at them, man.
Heard it right from the horse's mouth himself. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Definition of Active. We really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. I'll see y'all next time.
Much love.